It's Eric, doing a quick status update here. So I'm on vacation, so I don't have my normal streaming setup. That's why I'm just doing updates instead of full streams. So I'll show you what I've been up to. Yesterday I added quite a bit to the beams. I've got these diagonal beams here which allow you to walk around the vertical beams. So I don't have the full engine with me on vacation. I do have this sort of panning around mock-up that I can use. But if you were the player, you'd be about where my cursor's at, and the diagonal beams would let you walk around the vertical beams. So without them, I don't have any way to get the player around these vertical beams without coming up with something that sort of breaks the rules of the game. These are a little bit tricky to figure out how to depict. I'm not entirely happy with what I've got here. It seems a little too complex. What I'd like to do is get rid of this little extra bit that's pointing out from the diagonal. But the problem with that is that my player character model will look like she's about ready to fall off the edge of the diagonal beam. So that little outcropping here, this little point, gives some idea that she could be supported when she stands on the diagonal beam. Once I get it back into the game engine, I'll play with it some more. Some different options I have making the diagonal beam go out further, but I'm worried about this edge here going out past the boundary of the square and causing other kinds of visual confusion. I could remove this, and it might be that she doesn't look like she's teetering on the precipice so much. Or if she does, I got one other option, which is to change her animation so that she stays in a little bit closer to this edge. Basically, I'd special case her standing animation whenever she's on this diagonal beam. Other things I did, I made these swivel ladders. These were hard. Oh. So the trick to them is they're set up such that they can flip from one direction to the other and go exactly 4 high, and they have to be at a 45-degree angle. Otherwise, I have to really modify my engine quite a bit, and there's ambiguities as to what height the player is going to be at that won't make much sense. It won't be crisp, simple, and predictable unless this is at a 45-degree angle, because if it's a 45-degree angle, that means the player-controlled character will go up in height by 1 as she moves up the ladder. And the first version of this, I actually screwed up and made it so that it went an extra square higher. And it was like after maybe 4 hours of work trying to get it right, and I realized I'd made a mistake as to where the ladder was supposed to go to. Then I had to redo it. And I spent most of the day yesterday on this swivel ladder. But I think it's going to be cool because what you can do is you can walk underneath it from this side and walk in this direction with the normal keys and just kind of push against it and whoop, it'll pop the other side. But if it's already pointing in the direction you're moving, then you walk up it. And one thing about the Godkiller is there's not any special action keys. There's really only 8 commands. There's north, south, west, east, and there's fling north, south, west, east. And that's it. There's no commands. So I don't want like a special key you push to interact with an object. Everything in your action vocabulary is going to be expressed in terms of those 8 commands. And so if there's an action you perform on this ladder to get it to move, I want it to be something that you just do with your normal movement. So the design of this, I think, is pretty good. I had to solve a number of problems visually and game logic-wise without making significant changes to the engine. And I think it's going to be good. So the other thing I'm thinking about doing I noticed like if you get into a beam maze or a rafter maze and you get several layers of it and there's this lattice of different paths beneath you, it starts getting a little bit tricky to visually distinguish what you're seeing beneath you, and it'll be necessary for these puzzles to have any enjoyment to them that there's visual clarity that allows you to properly see what your options are and what will happen when you make your movements. So I thought, let's light the different layers differently. And here I've added some red lighting so that this layer underneath is a little bit different in color than the one that you're on. And I could do that just per scene. I could set all the lights within the Unity editor and have the whoever's designing it, which would be me most of the time, set all of the lights up exactly as they want. But I'm also thinking like maybe I just want to have a built-in part of each beam is that there's a lamp underneath of it, like a visually depicted lamp hanging underneath of it. And I can say that the color of that lamp will vary automatically depending on what height it's at. Kind of like the strata do on the walls. If I do that, then I can just knock out these scenes with beam mazes and lots of paths to traverse really quickly. That's one of the things that's on my mind all the time is I've got at least 100 levels to make, at least. I'd like to be generous and say hundreds of levels. So everything I have to do in the editor is multiplied times 20 to 50 times. So it's often worth the extra time to create something that's automated in level design. And if I get another person working on levels with me, I want some of the conventions that I would set up to be implied by the elements you put into the scene. So I'm thinking that'll be the next thing. I'll add some lamps underneath the beams that are just part of the prefabs. When we drop them down in certain spaces, the lighting will be implied. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. And if anyone happens to be chatting right now, I'm sorry I can't see chats with the stream setup I've got while on vacation. I'm not being rude. Particularly, the people that come out and hang out and talk, I always appreciate them. But when I get back to my regular office, back from vacation, I will do normal streams again. These are just quick status updates, and yeah. So anyways, thanks for watching. See you later.